Okay, so welcome again to the first panel in this case of the conference. And first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Sebastian. As you can see in my name, I'm Spanish, very long name, lawyer, and currently an AsiaGlobal fellow at the University of Hong Kong, where we try to expand our geopolitical expertise. And now we are going to explore the Armenian-Chinese relations in a changing world order. This means that we are talking today about two friends, Armenia and China, who are celebrating their bond, their friendship. So the first thing to say is happy 30th birthday. And moreover, because today we live a way back to the real politic, raison d'etat, there is less and less cooperation. Many states look for their self-interest or the interest of the national security. And therefore, it is great news that a conference like this is celebrated, organized for celebrating the diplomatic relations between two countries. So congratulations. And as Premier Secretary of the French Embassy, Monsieur de Benat knows, Napoleon said that diplomacy is politics in a formal dress. History shows the huge importance that diplomacy has in geopolitics, and conventions are also important. Being a generous host helps building relationships. And this is what our organizers and speakers are doing today. They share their views, consolidate their friendship, and grow their ties. So this is the reason why we thank so much the China-Eurasia Council and the World Socialism Institute at the Renmin University of China for brightly organizing this conference. And of course, thanks to the Embassy of China in Armenia for supporting this event and for their commitment. Our lecturers today are the most well-known scholars, Dr. Bin Mher, Dr. Zheng Yun-tian, Dr. Ruben Elamiryan, and Dr. Mher Sahakyan. Everyone will have 10 minutes for the presentations, and then we will have a 10 minutes Q&A for all the audience. So now we fly to China because we have there our first speaker, Dr. Bin Mher. He is Deputy Dean of the Center for Shanghai Cooperation Organization Studies at the Institute of International Studies, Fudan University of China. Dr. Mher is the co-author of this book we have here, China-Eurasia, Rethinking, Cooperation and Contradictions in the Era of Changing World Order. It was printed by Routledge, is one of the most relevant publishers worldwide. And here we have this excellent work that everyone interested in geopolitics should read. Dr. Mher is going to address us via Zoom, developing the role of Sino-Armenian relations in the new Eurasian regional order. So Dr. Mher, please be kindly reminded that you will have 10 minutes for introducing your views, and the floor is yours.
It is my great honor to have to take part in this great conference and to see many old friends and to see many and have some conversation with new friends. And as you introduced, we have the new book about the rethinking China and Eurasia, rethinking this cooperation and some very interesting things in the new age. And we are talking about the 30 years anniversary of the two countries. But for the 30 years is a very long time, but for the cooperations and the development of the two countries, I think there is a very short time. There are still a lot of things the two countries can cooperate and they can build the new future. And because this conference take place in a very new era, as we know, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and this conflict will reshape the regional order very deeply. So we can think about the two country relations. I mean, the China and Armenia relations in this background, and I think. This is a very important time for the not only for the two countries but also for the regional orders, and there will be a lot of new factors will affect the regional orders, and there will be a lot of new issues the two countries have to deal with. About the two countries' new cooperation, as I mentioned in the title of the sharing, is I think the Armenia is regional hub. I think, for my opinion, Armenia will can play as a regional hub for the new era, and I considering this role in the context of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, because as we know, the transportation between China and Europe, and China and some other countries in this region, like China and China, Middle East, China and Central Asia. And we have a lot of new railway connections between China and Europe, and some of them, there are three routes. The main routes through Russia, and then the Central Asia and Caspian Sea, and then to Caucasus, and then to Turkey, and then to Europe. And there also are some new short lines, but consider our discussion today, we are only talking about the middle and the north route. And in the context of the conflict, there will be a lot of sanctions on Russia. And as we know, the Russian railway company will be is being criticized by a lot of European countries and the US, and a lot of European companies, they refused to cooperate with the Russian railway companies, and that means the logistics between China and Europe, between China and Eurasia countries will be blocked and will be influenced. So there are a lot of discussion among the Chinese companies. We are talking about can we avoid such kinds of effect from the geopolitical conflict if the sanctions on Russian railway companies will be issued. That means the logistics between China and Europe will be stopped. So if that will be stopped, that means China and Europe's logistics, we have put this on a very important place. We regard this as an example of the Belt and Road Initiative, and a good example of China and some other countries' cooperation will be blocked for, or at least face a lot of difficulties. That means we have to find the new solutions. And as we said, the middle route, which through Central Asia and Caspian Sea and through Caucasus country, will be provide an alternative route. Although there's a lot of difficulties, as we know, the infrastructure problems, or the inconvenience between the railway and the sea transportation. But if the sanctions will be issued, we have to find the new solutions for such kinds of transportation. I think the middle route can provide a good point or good alternative for the companies between China and Europe, and China and some other Eurasian countries. So for my understanding, and as we know, this kind of route is on the exploring, and some Chinese companies and some Eurasian companies and Europe companies, they are cooperating on this kind of developing, and they help to stabilize such kind of transport. They hope to give the complementary transportation beyond the north route. So in such kind of background, and we rethinking about the Armenia and China relations, and we think about the new corporations or new topics which the two countries can put more attention and put more resources to do such kind of work. And as we know, there are a lot of things. I had interviewed a lot of companies which are focused on such kind of job, and such like the Germany's committee in this in Shanghai, the logistic committees, and they have built the logistic center and the committees in Shanghai that covered not only Shanghai but the East of China and almost all the China the German companies in the logistic companies in China. So I think there are a lot of things the two countries can have can do, and Armenia, not only Armenia, but also some but also the other countries in Caucasus, they can maybe they can have the regional hub and cooperation on such kind of development. Okay, I just put these opinions here, and I think we can have more discussion later. Okay, I'm here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Now we are going to give the word to our second speaker. He is Mher Sahakyan. And who is this man? Well, he is the director of the China-Eurasia Council and one of the most renowned experts in the relationship between the Caucasus, Russia, Iran, and China. Dr. Sahakyan has the most excellent academic education. He got his doctoral degree in international relations in 2016 in Nanjing University. But he also has military experience, great business understanding, and certainly, as you can witness today, diplomatic skills. He is the co-editor of the China-Eurasia book, published by Routledge, the most important publisher of professional and academic books in the world. And now please let me go personal, because I have the honor of sharing with Professor Sahakyan of having been selected by the AsiaGlobal Institute as fellows at the University of Hong Kong, where we have the opportunity of sharing geopolitical knowledge together with other 14 excellent colleagues and an outstanding team. And now he's going to develop a topic of his wide know-how, the Armenian-Chinese relations in multiplex Eurasian order, thoughts and recommendations. So,
dear Mr. Kontin, thank you very much, dear friend. It is my honor to be AsiaGlobal Fellow at the same University of Hong Kong, and thank you very much that you came to us from Spain, and thank you very much for your excellent moderation. I hope we will enjoy this show. And in political level, Beijing sees Yerevan as the part of Eastern Pole, which is being created by Sino-Russian tandem. This question arises why? Because Armenia is a member of Russian-led Collective Security Treaty Organization and the Eurasian Economic Union. The last one is being harmonized with Belt and Road Initiative. Armenia is also a dialogue partner of Shanghai Cooperation Organization and recently applied for the observer status. I do believe that Armenia should lobby for full membership of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. This will serve as a bridge for strengthening its cooperation on Central Asian issues, not only with Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, with which it has political, economic, and military cooperation, but also with China, India, and Uzbekistan. By the help of strengthening its position in Shanghai Cooperation Organization, Armenia can also try to establish diplomatic relations with Pakistan, which is backing Azerbaijan and trying to present Karabakh issue as religious in Islamic world. China sees Armenia as a partner in security issues. For instance, on May, when Vani visited Yerevan, he said former Foreign Affairs Minister of Armenia, Sahakyan, that both sides should enhance security cooperation and fight against the East Turkestan Islamic movement and other terrorist organizations, carry out learning of different civilizations and oppose clash of civilizations. In turn, Ambassador Fan, during the Rethinking China's rise under the government of the CPC conference, mentioned, the world is currently facing major changes unseen in a century, and peace and development are still the themes of all times. Under the new historical conditions, CPC is willing to continue to strengthen exchanges and cooperation with friendly parties in Armenia. It is also worth mentioning that Armenian military officers study in Chinese military academies and universities. Armenian government for a long time was trying to implement complementary foreign policy, but it will be hard to try it in the future. Yerevan must recognize the fact that it is in Eastern Pole, which is being created by Moscow and Beijing. Therefore, it must find ways for developing its economic and political relations with China in the framework of the Belt and Road Initiative, without fears that this step will close its roads towards Western political institutions such as NATO. Ukrainian crisis proved that post-Soviet states have no chance for, let's say, standing NATO members. And this kind of miscalculations can bring destructions of entire country, as it did Ukrainian President Zelensky. Armenia needs to solve its painful historical problems with Turkey and Azerbaijan, that it integrates its railroads and highways into China, Central Asia, Western Asia economic corridor, and on the other hand, that it does not stand another battlefield between West and East after the Ukrainian war. Let's also speak about the conjunction of the Eurasian Economic Union and Belt and Road Initiative. Membership of Armenia to the Eurasian Economic Union provides an opportunity to Yerevan to strengthen cooperation with Beijing in multilateral level as well. As in 2015, there was an agreement between Russia and China to conduct Eurasian Economic Union and Belt and Road Initiative. In 2018, Armenia, among other Eurasian Economic Union states, signed the agreement on trade and economic cooperation between the Eurasian Economic Union and its member states. On the one part, and the People's Republic of China on the other part. The agreement came into force on October 25, 2019. The other recommendation is that Armenia try to use this agreement for strengthening cooperation with China in research and development, transferring technologies and innovations, creating transport corridors, modernization of transport infrastructures, and getting investments. China will also be interested if Armenia plays more proactive role in China-Eurasian Economic Union relations. In the situation when, because of Ukrainian war, Russia and Belarus appeared under the heavy sanctions, Yerevan has more chances to get investments from Chinese companies, which they are going to do in Eurasian Economic Union. It is also the best time for creating Sino-Armenian joint bank in Armenia, which can play an important role in China-Eurasian Economic Union relations. As capabilities of Russian and Belarusian banks are being limited because of Western sanctions. China is also interested that Armenia plays more proactive role in China-Eurasian Economic Union relations, about that voiced Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi even in 2019 that he met with Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan. Wang Yi mentioned Chinese side also hopes that the Armenian side will continue to play an active role in facilitating the alignment between Belt and Road Initiative and the construction of the Eurasian Economic Union. Therefore, taking into consideration difficult political-economic situation in the Eurasian Economic Union, which is also providing some opportunities, Armenia needs to implement proactive foreign policy for getting benefits from the Eurasian Economic Union-China relations. Let's also speak about economics and trade. It is worth mentioning that China is importing from Armenia mostly minerals. And this cooperation was going on well before China started its Belt and Road Initiative. As it is written at the official website of Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Armenia, the supply of ore plays a leading role in the structure of Armenia's export to China. Nowadays, there are some progress in exporting Armenian alcohol, mostly wine, to China, but it is still far from Georgian results. In turn, China exports to Armenia buses, smartphones, notebooks, clothes, shoes, machinery, everything. Thus, business companies from both sides actively cooperate with each other, and trade is growing, but it is very sad that Armenia is mostly sending minerals, but not products to China. We must work on this issue. Before outbreak of COVID-19, in 2019, trade between China and Armenia totaled 759 million, from which 538 million was China's export and 220 million was its import from Armenia. Bilateral trade increased in 2020, even when trade between different countries were dropping because of the pandemic. This fact can relate to the Karabakh War, when Armenia had to grow its imports from China. Therefore, trade totaled 994 million in 2020, of which 220 million was Armenia's export to China and 772 million was its import. In 2021, bilateral trade rose to a higher level, keeping China as second trade partner of Armenia after Russia. Trade totaled 1,240 million, and Armenia's goods trade deficit with China was 457 million. Therefore, Armenia has a negative balance in its bilateral trade with China, but the positive moment is that, compared with 2020 and 2021, Armenia's export to China has grown to 171 million. Thanks go to Armenian traders. For improving this situation, I will recommend Armenia to establish a working group between Armenian Ministry of Economics and Chinese Ministry of Commerce for researching and discussing the possibility of export of Armenian final goods, not only minerals, to Chinese market. The next recommendation is that Armenian government organize expos of Armenian final products in the main cities of China for introducing them to Chinese consumers. Armenia can also invite Chinese business companies to Armenia and organize excursion for them to the factories, which can provide them an opportunity to export products to China. Going back to Li Keqian's offer in 2019 to expand the import of Armenian agricultural products, it is actually possible. This kind of recommendation I made in my book 1 year in 2018. Living in China for 5 years, I noticed that taking into consideration high pollution in China, Chinese middle class is trying to buy agricultural products from international suppliers rather than Chinese. Some experts like to mention that China is a huge market and Armenia needs to focus, and Armenia will not be able to supply entire Chinese market. Therefore, the next recommendation is that Armenia needs to focus only on 1 or 2 provinces for exporting its agricultural products. They can stand huge market for Armenia's small economy, but it will provide an opportunity to get stable and wealthy market and expand production. After it, Armenian producers, if Armenian producers grow their capabilities, they can supply other Chinese provinces as well. Next recommendation is that higher level of Armenian government, let's say Prime Minister, President, needs to attend in the next Belt and Road Forum, taking with them Armenian businessmen who can find partners there, not only among Chinese, but also among our foreign business companies. Before the next Belt and Road Forum, Armenia needs to create concrete proposals, mentioning concrete spheres where China and its companies can invest in the framework of Belt and Road Initiative and Go Global strategy. For getting investments for its North-South Road Corridor project, Armenia can stand regional member of Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. This bank can also provide loans for repairing and modernizing railroads, which can connect Armenia with Turkey and Azerbaijan, if Yerevan on one side and Azeri-Turkish tandem on the other side solve long-lasting disagreements and open borders and relaunch transportation. Ukrainian crisis and sanctions on Russia can bring more transportation for China, Central Asia, Western Asia economic corridors. After opening of borders between Armenia and Turkey and between Armenia and Azerbaijan, some portion of goods can be transferred from the territory of Armenia, making it one of the transportation hubs of the China, Central Asia, Western Asia economic corridor as well. The sphere of tourism has potential. If Armenia and China establish direct flights between Yerevan and Chinese main cities, which I recommended years ago, but still no progress. However, the agreement between Armenia and China on mutual visa expansion for holders of ordinary passports of both countries, which was signed on May 26, 2019, when I visited Yerevan, can help to boost people-to-people contact and tourism between two states. If China eases its strict rules for foreign and its own travelers, which it adopted after the outbreak of COVID-19. Let's also speak about academic diplomacy, which is the main tool of our organization. It is true that China is working in Armenia very actively. Mostly they are teaching here language. Young people can study Chinese language in Confucius Institute, in Russian-Armenian University. We are preparing sinologists. I can see our students here who are here to hear us, but also it is very important to have connection and to make some platform for cooperation between Armenian and Chinese scholars. For this, we have established China-Eurasia conference, which is bringing Armenian, not only Chinese and Armenian scholars, but also scholars from worldwide. As I have mentioned, only in December last year, 62 scholars from 23 countries attended in the third China-Eurasia conference. And it is also one of the recommendations that we did years ago to organize Armenia-China Forum. We waited, and we did it ourselves, yes, with our Chinese friends and with our colleagues. So, but it was also very hard. It was also very hard because, let's say 2-3 years ago, there were no one there in China, among scholars, among academic institutions who were doing research about Armenia. But by the help of the academic diplomacy, by the help of the China-Eurasia conference, we could create interest among our Chinese friends. They came to Armenia, they saw our country, we have friendship, cooperation, we wrote book, and now they are also, I am very happy to see our friend Mabin, Zheng, Yun-tian, Sun Chao, and others who are doing this. And this is, it provided us opportunity to have today this forum. So this forum, we thought about this years ago, and here it is already reality. And it is the part of academic diplomacy. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Sahakyan.
Sorry.
No. I didn't know what to do. You have to imagine my position now. But yeah, congratulations, obviously, on your achievements, because you are building something that is going to be really useful for your country. So it was, in my opinion, it was a very powerful political speech, because you were designing a new agenda for your government, for the Armenian government, and very complete. So I guess if our audience during the Q&A are going to boost you for running for office, I don't know, maybe that happens. But now we have to go back to China again, because there we have our third speaker, is Dr. Zheng Yun-tian. He is the director of the World Socialism Institute, Renmin University of China. He can't be here today. He is there already waiting for us through Zoom, where he's going to express his thoughts. And we are very lucky today because Dr. Yun-tian is also one of the co-authors of this China-Eurasia book, which is one of the musts in the contemporary political thoughts. Dr. Yun-tian is going to develop how to strengthening the cultural and social communication between China and Armenia in the changing era. So whenever you are ready, Professor.
Thank you, Mr. Kantin. Thank you for your kind introduction. First of all, I want to express some other feelings. During this pandemic, many ways of our lives have been changing. Online conference is a typical example. At the beginning, we found that it was very convenient and effective through software and apps. We can listen to the meetings with relaxing ourselves in front of the laptops and cell phones. However, as time goes by, I start to miss offline conferences, miss Armenian colleagues and friends very much. I admire guests who are attending our conference in Armenia now. I guess no matter what era it is, face-to-face social interaction among us is still irreplaceable. That's my topic today. My perspective is what universities can do on strengthening the cultural and the social communication between China and Armenia in the changing era. I got some background about my topic. I've been thinking about it for a long time, especially when I returned to China from Armenia. As we know that in 2010, many countries all over the world established diplomatic relations with China in 1992, including South Caucasus, Central Asia, East Asia, and so on. After 30 years in 2022, this year, the COVID-19 keeps on affecting the world, and it has been influencing the extension of Belt and Road Initiative in a wider and deeper range. Among those who celebrate 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations with China, Armenia is very special, as it has been maintaining harmonious friendship with China since then. As time goes on, these two countries and its people are becoming much closer, no matter how complicated the geopolitical and pandemic environments are. Belt and Road Initiative can benefit the world in many fields, and there have been plenty of research on this. As a scholar in a Chinese university, I want to focus on what universities can do to enhance the connection between China and Armenia to make BRI more beneficial. So that's my main concern. Before I express my suggestions, I want to introduce to you about Renmin University of China. Our university is a comprehensive research-oriented university focusing on humanities and social sciences. It also offers a range of courses in the natural sciences, information technology, and environmental sciences. The university's overriding tasks have consistently been the pursuit of truth and progress, cultural transmission, and educating the country's future elites. RUC is an important base for training high-caliber professionals in the social sciences and humanities, and houses a number of influential research centers and think tanks. This is the main building of our campus. And RUC's vision is to become a world-class university that equips future leaders, produces cutting-edge research, and promotes global academic exchange. With the support of a dedicated leadership, its students, faculty, and staff, RUC continues to grow in influence as one of the most important and trendsetters in Chinese higher education today. Now, this is a picture that I hold our book and take a photo at the western gate of our campus. It was very memorable, and I really cherish it. And because our World Socialism Institute belongs to the Schools of International Studies, I want to introduce our school. School of International Studies in Renmin University of China is the high education institutions that were founded as earliest in China to specify on teaching and researching the international issues, world socialism, China's foreign relations, and Chinese politics. After consistent efforts to scholars generation after generation, based on the academic tradition and the rich experience of talented people and scientific research, School of International Studies has been provided with complete subject layouts, systematic course arrangement, and first-rate teaching faculty, becoming nationwide well-known teaching and research institution of political and science and international relations. And now, in my opinion, what universities can do, I think there are two main tasks. On the one hand, advancing cooperation on subjects. My suggestions are mainly focused on the perspective and situation of RUC. First example is in humanities schools, history, literature, linguistics, and religious studies can improve the mutual understanding. I want to have an example. I have read a book written by a French expert who is also Armenian academician, expert on South Caucasian expert, Jean-Pierre Mher. He gave lectures in Fudan University, which Professor Ma Bin worked in. Mr. Mher shared a very fruitful and helpful research on South Caucasus, especially Armenian civilization, to the Chinese audience and students. It was a very inspiration to me. So this really enlightens me that in humanities research, we will have a lot of things to do in the future. And the second aspect is in social sciences schools. There are geopolitics, journalism, communication, and BRI research can provide practical solutions. That's what we need during this era. And the third aspect is in economics schools. There are financial studies, commercial and digital business research can activate the vitality. I'm very impressed by the research of Digital Silk Road by Armenian experts. That is very important direction to mutually benefit for both of us. And the second recommendation or suggestion is, on the other hand, expanding cooperation patterns. There are 4 solutions. First one is establishing cooperative education, including Confucius Institutes. As our ambassador's article have mentioned, there are 3 Confucius Institutes and 7 Confucius classrooms in Armenia. That's a very good circumstance. And especially in China, more and more Armenian products have entered our country, and they are very popular. And so that I think we have a very good tendency and future to make more cooperation. And the second solution is organizing more conferences and research projects. That's exactly what we are doing now. It was very inspiring and constructive. And the third solution is increasing visiting scholars and exchange students. No matter what Chinese or Armenian scholars or students or tourists going back and forth from Armenia to China or to China to Armenia, they can take a lot of pictures. They have a lot of vlogs. They can put them on the social network to let the world know that what we are thinking, what we are doing, especially on an active way and optimistic aspect, not pessimistic and negative sides. And the fourth solution is exploring mutual field studies. That is very necessary methodology of exploring cooperations for us. So I think that's we can do a lot of stuff. Let the government and policymakers to care about our suggestions and do more contributions to improve the friendship and relationship between China and Armenia. So in the long run, universities can and should make more contributions to build a truly community with a shared future for China and Armenia. My feeling can probably be a miniature of friendship between Chinese and Armenian people in the past 30 years. The geographic distance won't increase our mental distance. We share a lot of basic values in common. I have talked a lot with Dr. Sahakyan. We have a lot of things in common. We are really touched and moved by our similarities. I believe that those common values consolidate our friendship and cooperation, just like our ancestors did in the ancient Silk Road era. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Mr. Contin.
The audience was clapping you, Professor. Thank you very much, Professor Yun-tian. Well, was for your presentation and for the overview. Actually, you are going to have much more applications from Armenian students, because among our audience, there were many students taking notes. You were really strengthening the cultural and social communication between China and Armenia. Thank you. And now we head to our last speaker of the panel. Is going to be Dr. Ruben Elamiryan, familiar to many of you. He's chairperson of the Department of World Politics and International Relations of the Russian-Armenian University and executive officer of Geopolitics. Dr. Elamiryan is motivated and passionate international relations professional with extensive experience in research, education, and project management. He's skilled in political science and international relations, information and cybersecurity, geopolitics, and lecturing with focus on Russia and Eurasia, Eastern Europe, and South Caucasus. So he's the perfect guest for talking about the Armenia-China relations, challenges, and opportunities in changing environments. So whenever you want, Professor.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you for your kind presentation. First of all, it's my truly pleasure to be here. I mean, unfortunately, virtually. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Sahakyan for organizing this conference and for inviting me to be part of this great event. And at the same time, I would like to congratulate all of us on the occasion of 30th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations between Armenia and China. And now let me jump to my presentation. As you told, Mr. Moderator, the topic of my presentation is Armenia-China relations, challenges and opportunities in changing environment. A brief overview of what I'm going to talk in the upcoming 10 minutes. So it's kind of introduction of the transformation of the world order, and I'm going to stop on the main parameters of those transformations. And I'm going to talk about Armenia's foreign policy, main directions and aspirations, to jump on Armenia's strategic vision of cooperation with China. Then I'm going to come from the other way around and talk about China, BRI, and the South Caucasus, and focus on cooperation with Armenia, some figures on economic indications, some key figures on Armenia-China cooperation, and prospects for the future, and conclusions. So let's start. So only lazy these days are not talking about the transformation of the world order, yet at the same time, those transformations are turbulent and they are about uncertainty. What we see today is a kind of crash, if you want, of Yalta-Potsdam system, which was established after the World War II. And the main question here, what is the face of the new reality? So is it going to be multipolar? Is it going to be bipolar? Or is it going to be unpolar, for instance? More and more people are talking about kind of new bipolarity. And as Dr. Sahakyan put it, so it's kind of division, again, between West and East. And for small countries like Armenia, the other question, and probably the most important question, is should we do a geopolitical choice? Do we want to do that? And how to avoid that? Another parameters of technological shifts is the fourth industrial revolution. So it's about AI, robotics, 5G technologies, etc. We also see financial economic transformations. More and more people are talking today about the union pay, shift to the union pay, or at least bringing it on the level of SWIFT, as we have in international system. And what probably is more important, we see that it seems that the countries are willing to shift to trade of oil in Chinese yuans. It speaks about the major shift. And also we see the gradual decline of post-World War II institutions, including UN, OSCE, International Court of Justice, and it became very evident during the Third Artsakh War of 2020. And the main question here, what is the next? If we try to speak about Armenia's foreign policy perspectives, so the main strategic vision, so we can take the national security strategy of Armenia of 2020, which kind of emphasizes three fundamental principles. So it's sovereignty, pan-Armenian outlook, and cooperation. And if we try to reflect this to Armenia-China cooperation, again, the same strategy in chapter 4, which is entitled Ensuring the Independence, Sovereignty, and Territorial Integrity of Armenia and Security of Artsakh, under Article 4.12, states that we shall consistently deepen friendly relations with the People's Republic of China by expanding broad, multi-sector, and mutually beneficial cooperation. And let's try to kind of reflect this to the ground, if you want. So some key facts about China to make the cooperation more kind of sensible for Armenia. So Chinese GDP is 15.7 trillion, and it's about 15% of global share. So to compare with the US has 24%. A population of 1.4 billion, so it's enormously huge market. Strong educational system, colleagues has already told about this. The tourism in 2019, China exported 154 million tourists. So agriculture, China is both the largest consumer and producer of agricultural products in the world. Manufactured products account for about 94.3% of China's 2.09 trillion total exports, which include automobiles, ships, locomotives, textiles, fertilizers, and electronics. And if we talk about top 10 industries in China, so the 8th place is software development with 1.2 trillion USD. And 10th is engineering services in China, which is about 885 billion. So why I'm speaking about this is to come then from the other way around and try to understand what Armenia, how we can elaborate the Armenia-China cooperation. So if we speak about China and BRI and the South Caucasus, so we know that the initiative started into 2013 by Chinese President Xi Jinping. If we look through the main directions of Belt and Road, we see that the South Caucasus and Armenia is not present there, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that there are no perspectives to develop cooperation in this field too. So if we look through the projects financed by BRI, so according to IMF, World Bank, and Chinese information sources, Armenia is not there, hopefully yet. A couple of economic indicators. So we can see here Armenia's export to China, and we see that over years it's rising. So the share of China in Armenia's export increased from approximately 3% to more than 10% in 2020. The export is also, export from China to Armenia is also rising. However, unfortunately, the level of FDIs is very low. And the structure, again, Dr. Sahakyan told about this. Armenia, the main exporting goods are minerals and copper ore, so it's about 70%, and we are importing from China clothes, shoes, machinery, chemicals, etc. If we speak about prospects for the future, some parameters which can be taken into consideration is Armenia's membership of the EU. Armenia has a comprehensive and enhanced partnership agreement with the EU. Additionally, Armenia has strategic knowledge and understanding of the Middle East. At the same time, currently we're developing North-South corridor from Persian Gulf, Iran to Georgia, Black Sea, Russia, and Europe. And if we are looking through BRI maps, so it might be well integrated into that system. Another thing is, if effectively implemented, and this is the major issue, of course, now in Armenia, and effective implementation is a cornerstone of this project. But anyway, East-West communication hub is also a potential. Also, Armenia has high and relatively cheap human capital. And why it's important and why I brought some figures from China, production, export, import, etc. Armenia can try to get integrated into outsourcing of production for Chinese IT companies. Of course, potentially small for Armenia given the size, but anyway, some specific industries might be outsourced given both the potential and both history of doing that during the Soviet period. And of course, Armenia might be a new destination for Chinese tourists. Some conclusions based on the above. With China becoming one of the new global poles, Armenia should strategize and put more emphasis on Chinese vector of its foreign policy, specifically in economic and technological fields. This is important because I have the feeling that Armenia these days does not really understand the potential of China and that it's becoming a global pole. However, given the rising major power competition in the world and the rise of conflictual paradigm, over time it will become more and more complex for Armenia to continue with its multi-vector foreign policy strategy. Dr. Sahakyan has spoken about that, Armenia is in the eastern pole. Fairly speaking, I understand what Dr. Sahakyan means, but at the same time, I think that Armenia, being part of the Eurasian Economic Union, being part of the CSTO, it also has good relations with the West. It has good relations with the Middle East. So it's hard, but we can develop and try to avoid making this geopolitical choice, instead using our geography and potential to become kind of regional hub than to join one of the poles. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, all of it, Professor.
Because I lost your screen, that's why I'm asking.
We are following you super silent, that's why.
Great, thank you.
Actually, you were provoking. If you allow me to start with the Q&A.
I have 4 more points to finish, if you...
Oh, go ahead, please, go ahead.
This will be possible if Armenia accepts its responsibility in the development of cooperative collaboration with its partners by developing an accountable, clear, peaceful, and cooperation-oriented agenda, avoiding the temptation to become a source of threat for any of the actors involved. Finally, this would be possible if Armenia cultivates and promotes elites, and not only political, who have enough knowledge and experience to promote this kind of agenda. And education, both international and development of national education units, should play the key role in this process. In this regard, the development of Armenia-China educational ties and student professional exchange should be in the cornerstone. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we are going to give the floor to the audience, but there was Professor Sahakyan who wanted to link some of the final remarks from Professor Elamiryan, and he's going to answer you back right now.
Dear Dr. Elamiryan, thank you very much. Thank you for that you have mentioned about my idea that Armenia is in Eastern Pole. You know, it is what it is. We are the member of the Russian Economic Union. We are a member of Collective Security Treaty Organization, and it is the reality. And the second one, the biggest country of Eastern Pole, if you want, it is China, and in the Western Pole, the US is the biggest country. So they have great trade. They are the first trade partners of each other. So being in Eastern Pole or in Western Pole, it doesn't mean that you are just deleting all your connections with our countries. We love to speak about our friendship with France, of course, and it is true. We have great connection, but of course, France is very far from here for military cooperation. Maybe we can think about cultural cooperation. Maybe we can think about some economic cooperation, but not about military. Just imagine if we want, there are some political parties in Armenia who is speaking about possible membership of Armenia in NATO. They do not understand what they are speaking about. It is not possible. It is just not possible. And Ukraine is giving us great class, great lecture. And just imagine how if we are going with these ideas and we are signing military agreement, let's say with France, how they can send us troops and how can they send us any weapons? From which country? From Iran? From NATO member Turkey or Azerbaijan or Georgia? So we must be in reality. We are there where we are, and we must of course promote our good cooperation with the US, with Great Britain, with France and other countries. Thank you.
Dr. Elamiryan, you would like to answer back?
Yes, I would like, if I may. I will reshare. Thank you, first of all, Dr. Sahakyan, for your comment. But yes, I mean, the thing is how what kind of definition you give to a pole. I mean, if we are taking this as a tradition of World War II period, I don't think that there is Eastern Pole, at least yet. At the same time, yes, I mean, I agree that we are part of the Eurasian Economic Union, we are part of the CSTO. But at the same time, given our relations with Western institutions, again, I don't think that we are purely part of the Eastern Bloc. I mean, again, if it's about probably definition, but my perception is that we should continue and make it more effective, if you want, with our multi-vector foreign policy or cooperative agenda as it's put in our national security strategy of 2020. And the thing here is not about entering NATO. I mean, yes, there are some, I mean, it's never been official and it's never, I mean, this kind of agenda regarding entering NATO and regarding the EU during the, let's say, 30 years of independence in Armenia always was marginal. It's never been on the agenda in Armenia. And the thing here is not about entering NATO or any other, or let's say EU, etc., but developing cooperation with all the actors on specific niches. That's why I mentioned in my presentation, I will cite myself if I may. So this will be possible if Armenia accepts its responsibility in the development of cooperative collaboration with its partners by developing an accountable, clear, peaceful, and cooperation-oriented agenda, avoiding the temptation to become a source of threat for any of the actors involved. You told about Ukraine. I mean, it's not the topic of my presentation, and I don't want to to go in the details. But in my opinion, yes, at least bringing into agenda the issue with entering the NATO, it might be seen as becoming a source of threat. Once again, that's why I put this part here. And talking about multi-vector cooperation, again, I mean to break the cooperation in niches, if you want to understand with whom you can do what without creating threats. This is what I was talking about. And again, yes, I understand your position, but probably it's too early to speak about polls. At least I think that way. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have only 2 minutes for the following questions. If are quick, maybe we can have 2. If not, we are going to have the last. Please go ahead.
Okay. This is more a recommendation. So my name is Miran. I have no diplomatic, no academic background. I have a more business background. But I believe that diplomats should probably, besides all the recommendations that have been given, which I strongly agree with all of them, I think there are a couple of on the ground recommendation, people to people actions that we could take to strengthen the relationship. And I'm going to give you very basic examples. If we look at Pakistan, which is, regardless of the relationship between Armenia and Pakistan, Pakistan is one of the best friends of China. When Chinese people visit Pakistan, they have this, they feel secure. When they go to a hotel, they don't go to this hotel, they go to that hotel because, at that hotel, there are some bodyguards that are taking, more care of them. If you have a Chinese phone and you travel in any country, you'll receive those messages from the embassy, from the local Chinese embassy that tell you how important security is. So if you make Chinese people feel secure when they come to Armenia, I think that can tremendously help raising the reputation of going to Armenia. That's one. Two, if you give, for example, and I know this is probably a larger example, but if Chinese people go to buy some souvenir at the vernissage and they get special discounts, that also creates some sort of more I would say friendly interaction. If you teach every Armenian people from school, from their little age, what's Chinese history about? How friendly are Chinese people? How our culture have been, on the same path for thousands of years. I think these type of relationship, they start from the ground, and if you nurture this from 20 years later, you cannot cheat that. You cannot. So diplomatic relation, they're great, and when two diplomats cut ribbons and take pictures, it creates something strong. But it also can be destructed by the next diplomat that comes in and that didn't learn the Chinese culture, or that misbehaved because when he had to choose between two vaccines, he was looking at the Chinese vaccine like this. And this is very harmful for everyone trying to create ties between Armenia and China. So I think those small examples of trying to build contact to contact, and of course having the diplomats to influence that, trying to build contact, people to people relations, a lot of small details. I just gave 3, but I think there are a lot of small details like that. So that's what I would encourage too. That would be just a recommendation. Sorry, it was not a question. It was just a...
No.
Thank you.
it is more than welcome. You were mentioning that our proposal people to people, but it's full of common sense. So if only everyone would have this skill for proposing these kind of ideas. Actually, diplomacy is a modern term, used to be before called negotiation. So you as a businessman know very well how to negotiate and what negotiations can lead you. So everything is more than welcome, of course. If you have any last remark, we have 20, 30 seconds. If not, we have finished. Too short for remark. 20 seconds. That was a 2 seconds remark. 10 seconds. Okay, you have a gift of 3 extra minutes.
I'm Aram Karaman from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I deal mainly with China in everyday work. So just want to elaborate for the last point with the last comment. He mentioned about Chinese vaccines. I would just want to make a remark that Chinese vaccines are the most popular in Armenia, to my knowledge. And actually, so far, the last number I know, we had 800,000 vaccines imported to Armenia, 100,000 of which was a gift from China. So it's a big number of vaccines received, and the other part is bought, but I mean, those vaccines are popular in Armenia. That's one point. The other is like a deeper question. I'll do my best to be short. And there was a remark by Mr. Ma, the first presenter, about the middle corridor. He didn't go into detail whether how is it going to pass, how exactly could it pass for Armenia, because that middle corridor is already working, having trains from Turkey to China and from China to Georgia and from China to Turkey. So that corridor is actually working through Georgia. And so once you say Armenia can be part of it, you have to go to the next step, saying how exactly. That is one point. And another point is Mr. Sahakyan also mentioned that in case of resolving differences with Azerbaijan and Turkey, which is Armenia's position for quite a long time so far, and Armenia doesn't have any exact feedback yet. But the point is that Armenia has done its steps already and waiting for exact answer and the step forward in that part. Another point is in that part we are waiting, and another point is what about so also Armenian government mentioned about the regional roads to be reopened, and also waiting, and the progress is not there yet. So some steps should be taken towards our neighbors, I guess. Another point, what about Iran's role in the region? And probably it could be also considered the road Armenia, Iran, Georgia, or should Armenia, I would say Chinese civilization has a very deep knowledge of balance in all the spheres of human activity, also health, and not only, also in politics. So in case of transportation and economic development in the region, I guess it should be under closer attention to have a balance in the region. If it's shifted significantly, then I don't think it could contribute in the lasting peace in the region. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And we are going to meet again back here at 5:30 Yerevan time. Thank you very much for your assistance.